All right, what's happening, everybody? So I made this guitar out of peanut butter cups and toothpaste. Check this out. This is pretty cool. Watch this. See this? So this is 1000 grit wet sanded. That's all. Watch this. Remember, this is 1000 grit, right? Look at that shiny spot I made. My new polisher right there. But anyway, I'm at the stage now where I want to check everything, because if I have to clear coat it again, I still can. So I got the holes bored out for the inserts for the bridge. I'm going to talk about the bridge and the height of the bridge. It's very important to me that the bridge sits very close to the body without touching the body. If the bridge goes all the way down and touches the body, number one, you can never adjust it lower. Number two, it's my opinion that that will dampen the vibration from the strings. Now, this is a solid body electric guitar. It's not an acoustic guitar. So people will argue that, no, you want the strings to, transfer as much of that vibration into the body of the guitar as you can. But remember, I'm playing this guitar, I'm holding it, I'm handling it, I'm touching it, and all that is going to dampen any vibration that feeds into the body. I'd rather the vibration just exist between the nut, or in this case, because it's a string through, the first fret and the bridge. Any other vibration beyond that, I don't think is going to do me any good at all. I have been looking at this trapeze tailpiece, and it's growing on me. So I might be using this after all. I was looking around online. I found another one that I like, but it's not going to be here for like 3 more weeks, and I kind of don't want to wait that long for it. Probably because of the holidays. I guess all the packages being shipped out is going to slow everything down. But I do have it all laid out real nice. The bridge position, you notice I did not kick the bridge like this. I see a lot of people, tip the bridge one side. You're only supposed to tip the bridge the difference between the thickness of your 2 E strings. So, you're talking about 32 thousandths of an inch that you're supposed to kick that. I have guitars where I've kicked it and it wound up having to move the intonation all the way to one side. So the saddles are for the most part straight. You always get that B string that's always a little bit off from all the other ones, but in my opinion, tipping that onto an angle, especially a steep angle, is not going to do anybody any good. But bridge position and bridge height. So I can spray this again with clear coat if something were wrong with it, and if I needed to do something, if I needed to make any adjustments or last minute fixes. Like, this is my last chance to do it. So I usually drill out these posts, make sure everything's perfect. I'll show you how I check that. There's a couple tools that I use here. I got feeler gauges here. I got a ground 90-degree square right here. I got my measuring fret rocker here. I got some fancy tools over here that I'm not going to use. It's like having these radius measuring tools after you've already put the frets in. So it's kind of pointless to use some of this stuff now. But the things I am going to use are right here. Pennies or dimes. That's what I'm going to use. And I'll show you what I do with those just to verify that my height is accurate. To do that, I'm going to balance my phone on top of the light again and make sure we got everything in the frame here. Okay. So when I measure the center to center hole, it usually comes out to be the edge of this hole and the edge of this hole are usually almost exactly the same as the width of the bridge, right? In this case, it is. In some cases, depending on who the manufacturer is, the posts are a little bit further out, and then on some of them, they're actually a little bit further in. On this one, it just happens to be exactly the same size. So if I line up this edge of the hole and this edge of this hole with the two outer edges of the bridge, that tells me exactly where my bridge is going to sit when the posts are in. So I want to get above it here so I can get a good look at it. Okay, look good right there. And there's a shadow right there. Okay, I can see the edge of the hole right there, so I'm going to leave it sitting right where it is. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get a straight edge, and I want to go along the length of the neck. I'll see if I can. I really can't get the neck into the shot, but I just put the ruler up against the edge of the neck, and I bend it up out of the way so I'm not interfering with the position of the bridge. And then I relax it a little bit, and I go just till I touch the side of the neck. Okay, so that's where I'm at right there. Perfect. The ruler lines up with the end of that saddle. So I want to check the other side, do the same thing, and I should end up with the ruler right up against the edge of the other saddle. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. So center-wise, I'm perfect there. That's really good. Now the next thing I want to look at is my height, because I do have an opportunity to adjust the height of this. I'll show you how I would do that. In fact, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna sink this bridge just a hair lower than where it's sitting. If I just put the post inserts into the body and screw it down. If I do that, it's going to raise this bridge up the thickness of that lip around those post inserts. I should have some laying around over here. Let's see. Okay, so I got some in a bag over here. These are not the correct ones for this build, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Gotta make sure I'm actually on the camera here. Okay, so you see that little lip right there? That lip is about the thickness of a penny, right? So we're not going to use the feeler gauges. We're not going to use any of that stuff. We're just going to use the penny. And I can check by laying a penny underneath of here and underneath of here and set the bridge on that. And that's going to put my bridge at its finished position. Right now, this wire that comes out of here is keeping the bridge tilted this way because it's sitting on the wire. The penny will hold it up just about enough that it won't be sitting on the wire. But I'm going to use the pennies and dimes for something else. I'll show you what I do. I take my straight edge and I go right on one of the two middle notches in the saddle, and I just sit right across all my frets. And now let's see if we can't get that. Let me see if I can tilt this up a little bit. Yikes. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, here we go. That's better. Okay, so now I'm going to take my dime. I'm going to lay it on those two frets, and the dime doesn't fit under the ruler. Okay, so if I put it under the ruler, oops, if I put it under the ruler, see what happens? Okay, so it's rocking, right? So that's telling you that the clearance that I got is less than the thickness of the dime, which is about exactly what I want. When I put my posts in, before I put the posts into the holes, I'm going to countersink these two holes just a hair. I'm just going to take a little bit of the finish off so that when I push this into the body of the guitar, this lip right here is just about flush with the body. So when you drill these holes, the final dimension for this should be about 11 mil. You never want to drill them too small. I know it sounds like, yeah, I want them nice and tight. But if you make them too tight and you can't press this down in the hole, this is too tight. If I try to force this down into the hole, I'm going to crack something. The wood's going to split. Something terrible is going to happen, right? I don't want that. You want this to be so that you can just about shove it down in there with your thumb. I have a little brass hammer, and I'll put a little, popsicle stick or something on here, and I'll tap that all the way down into the body. I'm not going to have to put any glue in there because it'll be just snug enough. But the way that I get that up to the right dimension is I get an undersized drill bit and I wrap some sandpaper around it, and I can always put another wrap or one less wrap around there to get the size bigger or smaller until I get this exactly where I want it, which right now it's a little small. So that's an easy thing for me to repair, or to, for me to modify. I shouldn't say repair. There's nothing, it's pretty good right where it is. These if I really push on them, I can get them to go in there. But I don't want to do that because it's too tight, right? That's just too much. I can force that down in there, but I guarantee you if I did that, I would cause damage. So we're not going to do that, and we are going to countersink these holes so that I can push this down flush. The reason I want that down flush is because if you're ever wiping off the guitar, you always get like little fuzzies stuck under there. If you wax the guitar, you get that nasty white wax look underneath of there, because it is an arched body, which means that this lip is going to come tight down to the body here, and it's going to have a little bit of a gap over here. And then the same thing, it'll be tight on the inside and loose on the outside. And I don't want that, so I'll countersink that so I can push them down so that they're just about flush on the inside, and then they'll have a little tiny bit of a rim sticking up on the outside. But that's how I check my finish height. I definitely want that bridge to go down just about as far as I can without it touching, and it looks like I'm going to hit that mark without having to do any modifications to the holes or anything like that. I did have one where it's just a regular tune-o-matic bridge, and I actually had to grind about 0.5 millimeter off the bottom of the bridge so that it wasn't touching the body. So that was no fun, but I had to do it. But the penny dime trick works really well. 1000 grit sand it. I got a little shiny spot right there. I don't know if it's coming up on the camera, and there's another shiny spot right. No, that was dirt. But there's another shiny spot over here somewhere. If I tilt it just the right way, you would see it. But this is actually my control cavity for all of the electronics. There is no control cavity cover on the back of this guitar at all. If you look at the Rick Turners, they have a big, ugly control cavity cover right here. It's huge. It's ugly. I don't like it. I like this clean look on the back of it. So in order for me to do that, the electronics are going to be a little bit tricky. I've got a channel that runs in here, comes this way, and then goes this way, so I can catch these. I'm going to have volume, tone, and then up here, this will be my blend. This will blend. It'll be either all piezo or all humbucker over here. or I can blend between the two. The blend is a different switch than these are just regular I think I got 550K pots for these, but the blend switch is different. So all my wiring has to be done right here. So the last thing that I will wire will be the humbucker, which I have a couple of Seymour Duncan humbuckers laying around that I was going to use one of them, but I found a mid-price range humbucker online. It looked cool. It sounded cool. Uh, I'm going to try it. It was $50. I'll try it. If I don't like it, I'll take it out and I will use one of the Seymour Duncans. I cannot use a hot rail in this because the hot rail is like one continuous magnet. So what I think is going to happen is if I put a hot rail in there and I rotate this like an EVH, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of difference in the sound coming out of the guitar as I will if I have a 6-point humbucker, because that it takes those 6 magnets and it kind of offsets them from the strings, and it's going to change the sound. It's going to change the tone. So I got to stay with a 6-point humbucker in here, and well, that's about where I'm at. But remember, the penny dime trick is a great method. It doesn't have to be a specific dimension. You know, you do have adjustment on the bridge, and as long as your bridge is within a certain tolerance, which I am, I should be looking pretty good. Still have to cut the bone string spacer down on the other end because this guitar doesn't have a nut. It is a 0 fret guitar, so it's the first time I've built a guitar with a 0 fret. I'm very excited to see how that turns out, and I do like the shape of the neck on the back. It is a little on the chunky side, but I do like that. I've gotten used to playing an acoustic Martin. Anybody who's ever played a Martin guitar probably knows what I'm talking about. But I do have I've got an Epiphone Les Paul over there, and the neck is like half the thickness of this. So it's going to be like, night and day playing the two guitars. Just a different feel. Not that any one is better than the other. I just wanted this guitar to have a little bit of beef to it. It is a neck through, so I definitely want the stability of a neck through, and I'm afraid that if I made the neck too thin, I would be undermining the work that I've done to make this a neck through. By having a thin neck up here, it would be more flexible, and then I would kind of lose. It's kind of, it goes against the whole point of having a neck through. But anyway, we're getting close. This is 1000 wet sanded. I'm going to let it sit probably for another week. What I'll do is I'll 1500 wet sand. I'll take care of the little shiny spots that I still have and make sure they're all gone. And then it's just going to sit for another week. Every time you break the surface of the clear coat, you're allowing it to breathe more. You're going to allow it to dry or cure faster. If you're in a big hurry and you clear coat and you press these guys down in there and they're touching the finish, then what winds up happening is you wind up squeezing out some of your clear because it's still soft. You won't see it that much around the bridge because the lip on here is tiny, but where you do see that is on the machine tuners where they're bolted down and there's a washer there, and that washer is squeezing on that clear coat, and you wind up seeing like little donuts around where the washer is squeezed down onto the clear coat. You see a little donut of a clear coat around there. That's, that means that somebody put the hardware on before the clear coat was cured. So it's looking good. I'm going to let it sit for another week. I am working on another project. I'm working on a PRS body, and I have all the material for the neck. I'm going to probably glue and clamp that up today. And that's something that I can be working on while this just sits and cures a little more before I start polishing and getting the hardware put on here. But we're getting closer. I hope you guys like this, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.